We're broadcasting from the Middle Tennessee Electric Studios.
Visit MTE.com.
Middle Tennessee Electric, serving to make life better since 1936.
This is a WGNS Action Line. Talking with Rutherford County newsmakers
since 1947.
This is a WGNS Action Line. Now your host, Scott Walker.
With us in studio, we've got SRO Katie Cherry and Chad Dodson. How are both of y'all doing this morning?
Great. How are you?
I'm good. So what all is new and what's happening within the Sheriff's Office and the variety of schools out there?
Well, the program we have coming up is the Junior Deputy Academy for the 5th graders going to 6th grade across the county. And this is a 3-day law enforcement experience just to teach the duties of the Sheriff's Office, but also character and citizenship building.
By the way, feel free to text in any questions you may have, 615-893-1450. Now, the Junior Deputy program, that focuses on what? Kids going into middle school?
Kids going into middle school, yes, from 5th grade to 6th grade.
Years ago, it seemed like middle school was what, 6th grade to 7th grade? And 8th grade too, then... I guess it changed a while back to include 5th grade as well.
Well, yeah, they'll be going the first year, so they'll be going into 6th grade.
So what are some of the biggest difficulties that kids in that age group usually face going into middle school for the first time?
I think a lot of them have brothers and sisters, so they already know, older brother and sister, so they already have an idea. But the ones that don't, it's just a lot bigger environment, kids from different schools coming together. It's just can be kind of a scary time for them. If
you're in 5th grade, you're 10, 11 years old. Is that usually?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Go in probably at 10, come out 11, and then from there go on to 6th grade.
Right.
I'm thinking back when I was in middle school, I think it was just 7th and 8th grade was middle school then.
Yeah, I think so. I think it was the same way with me. Went through the 6th grade.
Of course, Rutherford County was a lot smaller then compared to today, but how many middle schools do we have now?
28 elementary schools.
So 28 elementary, yep. And those kids are the ones going into middle school, a much larger environment. And the middle schools they go into, everywhere from Christiana Middle to, there's a Smyrna Middle as well.
Oakland, Rocky Ford, Siegel.
Laverne.
Yeah, all over.
When you look at the entire county school system, there's over 50 schools now. Some of them still have K through 12th grade, like Eagleville, as an example. Are there any other ones besides Eagleville?
I don't think so.
That's the main one then.
Yeah.
So outside of that, when you work with this age group, what are some of the difficulties they come to you with? What are some of the things they tell you each day?
Well, I know for me, I'll let Katie talk there, but it seems like social media, somehow it ends up with social media, no matter the age group, and even all the way down to 1st grade sometimes. So that's a huge one, and even grown-ups for that matter. It just seems to be a problem.
I agree. Social media seems to be kind of in the way of everything in a lot of ways. And the things people say these days on social media, it's kind of crazy. You wouldn't hear them make some of the statements they make on social media in person. It's just very odd.
That's one of the things that I deal with, even in elementary school, is the impact that social media has on children these days is absolutely insane. You have kids that truly believe things that other people tell them that they don't even know.
Yeah.
You're talking to people that you have no idea where they are, who they are, how old they are, and when they tell you something, vulnerable ages, believe them. And then you get into a world of, well, now we've got to figure out who this person is. And that rarely happens in the law enforcement world. When you're talking to people online, they can be anywhere from here to way across the pond. And so it's very difficult to get children out of that mindset sometimes, unless you just cut them off completely from that world. It's a different world. It's not reality.
As a parent, that's the scariest thing.
Absolutely.
For me. My kids are all grown, but social media was really getting huge when they were going through school. And that was tough, trying to explain to them, you can't get on this program, can't get on this app because it's not something that's going to lead to anything positive,
right.
And it's going to be a bunch of fake people, if you would.
Yeah, the biggest thing that I had growing up was MySpace, and how I wish we could go back to just having that.
It's a lot easier when you don't have social media. I hate to say it. It has brought a lot of people together in a lot of positive ways, but man, life was easier without social media there.
Yeah, negativity definitely comes along with the positive aspects that you do have with social media. You're always going to deal with the negativity. And unfortunately, you deal with that in your schools.
And when you're talking about social media and kids, like you were saying, the person who that kid is talking to may not even be here. And of course, their
Correct.
identity of being their true age, if they're male,
Correct.
if they're female, whatever they are, you never know that. And the kids never realize that.
Yeah.
And they don't understand that.
And sometimes my school is 61% Hispanic. And so when you deal with a different culture, it's not so much the parents' fault, but it's very hard to get even the parents to understand sometimes what exactly is happening when you hand an 11-year-old a cell phone that's attached to everything else in the world.
As wild as it is in some countries, they don't have complete access to the internet.
Correct.
Like they
and that's
do
the
here.
cultural difference that unfortunately some of us deal with in these schools.
It's pretty wild because you've literally got kids from all over the country in Murfreesboro and Rutherford
Correct.
County.
Very diverse.
We're a melting pot. Mm-hmm. I remember my son and I went to Cuba one year, of all places, but talk about the government being involved in what you can see and not see on the internet. Cuba is a prime example. I mean, you can't even go to Google in Cuba. You can't check your email in Cuba. And we've got even kids from Cuba here. Mm-hmm. But the difference is these kids, sometimes at age 12 and 13, they're thrown into this world all of a sudden of internet and social media. And even more so, they don't know how to handle it. How do you teach that? How do you make kids understand?
So, and Chad can touch on this as well. So part of our SRO program, part of our curriculum is to teach social media safety. And we really harp on how to be safe when you're playing video games, when you're, one of the biggest issues that I deal with, I don't know if Chad does, but Roblox is such a huge part of the atmosphere in my school.
And what exactly is that? Because I've heard people say it.
It's a game that you can go on and build cities. From what I understand, I have my kids at school because I don't have kids, so I have to. My kids are my kids at school, so they have to teach me these things.
Yeah.
And they tell me that you can do this, you can build cities, you can well, do you know who you invite into these cities?
Yeah.
And so teaching them the safe aspect of all that is one of our main goals. To say, hey, we want you to have fun, but there's a safe way to do that. And so that's one of the biggest curriculum aspects that I try to take is our social media safety.
So on these games, these video games where people are chatting with each other, are they literally talking to each other, like verbally talking to each other?
I believe they can through a headset.
It's wild.
It is wild.
I mean, because you're like at your house, you're literally inviting these strangers into your house in
Absolutely.
a sense.
Some of those use web cameras as well, so you can see.
So they're seeing the kids they're
Yeah.
talking to.
Right.
That's even more scary.
Yeah, it is.
And I'm sure there's some hackers out there. They're able to track down the IP address where that kid is. I mean, it gets really invasive and personal quick.
Yeah, and any time I'm in the classroom, I try to make it a point just talk about this. That hey, just because someone's nice to you, don't mean they're your friend. And if they say something nice, and it may not even be who who you're talking to. You may not even be talking to a kid. So I try to, point that out. And I've been working with third grade some here recently with that. And, it's just, unfortunately, it's easy, and even for grown-ups too, to believe whatever you read.
Yeah.
And some people just, that is just the truth, no matter what. And they don't put any kind of research into it to see if it's true.
Again, we're talking with folks from the Rutherford County Sheriff's Office, SROs, this morning. Hey, do any of the kids ever come to y'all and they show you their phone? They're like, look at what I'm doing right now online, or look who I'm talking to on social media. Here's somebody I'm talking to in Croatia. Yeah, I mean, do they come to you and say these things?
Well, of course, my elementary school, they can't have the phones out or anything like that. So, but I do have some come to me and tell me about stuff they've seen or something someone has said.
Yeah.
And then, depending on what it is, I may have to get the parents involved and follow up on it. So,
Yeah, thankfully, anytime if they see something or something makes them uncomfortable, 90% of the time they'll go to their parent, and that parent will then come to me. And that's where I will take over and say, well, let's try to investigate this a little more. Let's try to figure out what we can do. This year, I know I've had 2 maybe 3 instances where I've actually brought in our criminal investigations division to help me try to figure out what's going on here. And so typically the parents at our age or age group, the parents will bring it to our attention before the child will, but the child will bring it to the parents' attention. Or, thankfully, we do have a lot of responsible parents who check the child's phone and will just find it and go, hey, we don't know this person. My child doesn't know this person. Is there, how do we fix this? And then we'll either block that person or completely block the app. My recommendation is always close the app.
Yeah.
Get rid of it.
Yeah, definitely.
But typically at our age, they have a little bit less of a voice. They don't understand. They're very innocent. But thankfully they do have enough voice in them to say, Mom, Dad, I need help.
Yeah.
And then those parents will bring it to our attention and we'll take it from there.
It's a great big scary world out there. I mean, especially when you factor in that entire world is at the fingertips of these kids who don't understand the world they live in yet. And when these kids do come to you, or let's say when their parents come to you, what are some of the more scary things that you've seen? Like you said, you had to get the criminal investigations division involved before. So what are some of the more scary things that these kids are seeing?
Typically scamming is a big one where they'll try to get money out of these children, and thankfully if they don't have their mom or dad's debit card memorized, they'll have to go ask for it, and then the parent will go, why are you asking me for money?
But kids have these things memorized these days, don't they?
I'm sure somewhere, yes. Thankfully I have not dealt with that, and so the parents have said, hey, my child asked me for a credit card number, can you help me out? And so I'll say, okay, well, let's look at the messages that you've looked at, and then of course immediately as an adult I can go, yeah, this is not legit.
Yeah.
You need to get rid of this person that's on this phone.
And it surprises me. I've got grandkids. It surprises me how smart even the younger generation is these days. I mean, little kids, they're able to search whatever website they want. If they're looking for a certain toy, they know exactly how to find that toy online. And it's amazing.
Yeah. I've had a cell phone for 20 years, and there are first graders who can probably manipulate it better than I can.
It's funny, but yet it's scary too.
Yes, I agree.
So what are some of the other things that may be happening right now in the county schools? Because I know recently we heard about some special school scholarships the SRO division awarded.
So we just finished that. And so what I took over the scholarship program 3 years ago, I believe. And this program it's not really a program, it's just a scholarship that's funded through our golf tournament every year that we have. And the golf tournament this year is actually September 19th at Cedar Crest Golf Course. It's one of my favorite events that I get to do. We go out there, we start at 7 a.m. and then we have a group that we finish at lunch, and then you have a lunch group that comes in that starts playing at 1. So it's 2 different tournaments. And so we have a lot of fun with it, but we raise a lot of money through silent auction that we try to give back to a lot of these children that need it. And one of the things that we do that with is through our Rutherford County SRO Scholarship Fund. And these kids there's a criteria that you have to meet to qualify for the scholarship. And then each year I'll have 18 to 20, and then I narrow it down to the top 5 or 6.
And, as Rutherford County continues to grow, because we've grown so fast over the years, we're going to have a lot of kids who their family may find themselves in this needing additional help, additional funds to pay for things like college and other things like that. But these scholarships the SRO division is giving away specifically, what are they for the kids who are awarded the scholarship? Are they for technical schools? Are they for...
So you have to be at it's just a college-based university that is accredited.
Okay.
That's what one of the requirements is. And it's based off of a GPA. And you get certain points for how high your GPA is. You get certain points for your ACT score, your extracurricular activities that you do. How busy were you during the school year to where you maintained this 4.0 and a 32 ACT score? There are things that I look for in these scholarships. And one of the biggest ones is your extracurricular activity, because I was a huge extracurricular activity child. And I maintained very well grades. And so I try to base it off how busy these kids are throughout the year. And then they'll have to do an essay on school safety, ways to improve school safety. And then we've talked a little bit we make sure that they have recommendation letters. You have to have 2. And then you take a point system based off of all that, and you rank them.
And there's something to staying busy. I mean, it really does keep a lot of kids out of trouble.
Absolutely.
And being involved. I mean, that's a huge thing. And if you start that involvement at an early age, chances are good when you get older, you're going to be involved in that community as you get older.
Correct.
We did have one question texted in that really goes back to the cell phones and social media. And let me see if I can find it real quick here. What role does social media play in conflicts and bullying among middle school children? Because I know my child was bullied in middle school last year, but I didn't know how to handle it, and I felt like the school didn't really know or understand what to do with it. I guess that could be a problem, especially if the bullying is coming from outside the school even. That would be a big issue.
Correct. The biggest advice is always to just block the individual that's bullying you. We touch on social media safety with our kids in school, but we also have a parent class that teaches parents what these apps are capable of.
Yeah.
I have a night class at my school twice a year that teaches these parents, hey, this is what the Roblox app looks like. This is what Snapchat looks like. This is what Facebook looks like. Any app that Instagram, X, or former Twitter, any of those apps now that you can place on a child's phone or that they can get a hold of, we always try to show them. Discord is a big one where they play games. We always try to show them what it looks like. So if they see it on their child's phone, they know, hey, this is one of the issues that was brought up in my social media parenting class. I need to know more about why it's on your phone and who you're talking to. So the way the school handles things and the way we handle things are very, very different. We have to let the school do what they have to do. We can't step in their way with that. That's their baby. But a parenting class for social media is the biggest way that I feel we reach out to the parents to have them have a safe lock on their child's phone. Because understand, your child may have to have the phone. They play sports, they go to a friend's house. Coming home when the light streaks come on isn't reality anymore.
Yeah.
So I understand why your 5th grader has a phone, but there are safe ways to make sure your 5th grader has a phone.
And there's even programs these days that look like a calculator, for an example.
Correct.
And it's actually, you type in the right code, and then it opens up to a
whole
folder,
different world.
And that folder holds apps that the parents can't see.
Right.
And and I do a class too I put together for internet safety at my school for parents. But there are programs and stuff. I was in a conference in Phoenix a couple of years ago, and they talked about BARK, B-A-R-K, is a good program as far as installing on your kid's phone. That way you can get messages when stuff's going on that you can be aware of when it's happening. So, that was one good one they mentioned. So, but then you can get that on your house as well, anything you have in your house.
We've talked before when you've been on the air about the fact that parents need to remember they're the ones paying for the cell phone, right. and it's a privilege. And they've got full control over that cell phone. They just need to act in that way to have that control.
It is, and you just don't need to assume something's not going on because you're not hearing anything, because I promise you there's probably a lot of stuff you're not aware of on that phone, and you just need to follow up, because I've had parents tell me before, aren't they going to see it anyway?
It's a crazy thought process to think that way about your kids.
That's, and my answer was possibly, but we got to fight it as all we can.
Yeah, we don't have to help them see it, though.
Yeah.
So, we have to fight it. We can't just sit back and close our eyes and pretend stuff's not going on.
For my generation, that thought of, aren't they going to see it anyway, it applied to going to see R-rated movies.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't apply to all of this other stuff. And it's wild that some parents don't have that gut feeling. I need to protect my kid from this outside world.
Well, and a lot of things now we've been desensitized to, and then, a lot of stuff's glorified nowadays. So it's just something that we have to stay on top of, always.
Being desensitized. I can't even say the word. Why are there some words that we can't say?
I don't know. I'm surprised I said it.
Anyway, with the thought of people getting familiar with seeing certain things online, certain things on TV, they think it's normal. And adults get into this same thought process that it's normal. So therefore it's normal for their kids to see whatever it is that they may find online or through YouTube videos or Instagram videos or reels. But man, some of the stuff that's on those reels, some of those videos are pretty intense, and you shouldn't want your kids to see that stuff.
No, I mean, we need to know what's going on. You know, you have to, like I told that parent, you have to fight it.
Right.
You can't just step back and let it go.
Well, kids are so exposed to graphic language, so many things that are now sexualized. And so when you have to fight such a big world in that now, and like Chad said, that we're so desensitized to some of that stuff, dealing with that in an elementary school can be harder sometimes because you're dealing with kids that truly don't understand. That's not a good thing.
Yeah. And it's hard for a kid who's, 11 years old to comprehend that something online may not be good for them to see or be involved in. And then you get to those conversations that these kids are having with total strangers out there who they think are 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds, but they're not.
Right.
So how do you get across to the kids, it's not a 12-year-old you're talking to, even though you think it may be, it's not.
You sit them down and you just have that hard conversation. I've had it with several. I would say the biggest, other than Roblox, which I think is throughout all the schools within elementary, Snapchat and TikTok are the worst two that I deal with. But sitting those children down and just having the hard conversation and saying this is a problem and we have to address it.
Yeah.
Typically they'll either be scared to death after you have the conversation with them, or they'll go, okay. And so it's a 50-50 shot. They either continue doing it and then you catch it when it comes around again, or you scare them and put the fear of God in them and they go, I don't even want a phone anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other problem that I'm sure happens routinely is if one kid is looking at whatever website or social media page they're looking at, chances are good they're going to share it with their friend. And then next thing you know, that friend is on that same bad social media
Oh, yeah.
site.
It spreads like wildfire.
I bet. Somebody asked, what are some of the success stories that you've had with kids who have been struggling with things that may involve social media? And what types of words of encouragement have you given them?
Well, I mean, I've had some, it's some people, some of them, I mean, depending on what it is, I mean, they feel really bad. They just feel like they messed up. They, can't undo it. And, of course, they don't want their parents to be called, but they have to be called. And then after we meet them, I try to encourage them. So, look, I'm not mad at you. And if you need anything, I will, be here for you. But it's important that we learn this stuff now so we don't make those mistakes or get into something worse down the road. I think letting them know you care is one of the biggest things, because they can see right through you if you're fake.
Yeah.
And when they know you care, I think that's a success story. And, when you're working with the families and stuff too, especially if you have a family that's genuinely concerned and they want to fix whatever this issue is, well, it turns out good usually. But it has to be that communication, and it has to be that sincerity.
And how do you let these kids know that if they come to you with something that they come across on social media, somebody they're talking to on social media, how do you let them know ahead of time that I'm not going to be mad at you if you come to me and talk to me about this situation, whatever's going on? If it's an online conversation, I'm not going to get mad at you about it, but I am going to talk to you about it so that you can better understand it. How do you get that point across to little kids?
I tell my kids, and I look at them, I think most SROs that truly care about being an SRO, that's their kids. And I tell them when I'm in classes, look, you're my kids. I care about you. And, if you need me, come to me, and I will do what I can to help you. But I think it begins with going into classes and building that relationship from the beginning, especially with kindergartners. I mean, I'm right in there the first of the year with kindergarten. And, I want to build that as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anytime I have a negative conversation with one of my kids, I always try to bring it back that this comes from a place that I love you from and I want you safe from. I never try to leave them with tears rolling down their face. But there are hard conversations you have to get your point across, even with parents. But I always try to circle it back to, hey, this comes from a place of love, and it comes from a place of, I want you safe. And there's a way to do that. But what you're doing right now is not safe.
Yeah.
And we have to address that.
And these kids, like you said earlier, they're really innocent in these things. I mean,
are.
They don't grasp how a conversation is leading to something much more serious.
Correct.
And I guess that's how it often starts, is the conversation begins as if the person they're talking to is their friend. And next thing you know, I mean, they could be asking for pictures even.
And it makes it, the way that the internet and social media and technology grows, it only makes our job harder. You know, we have all this AI mess now that they send a picture like, hey, I'm your buddy, I'm 14 like you. Well, it's so easy to do that now.
Yeah.
And so it's just another battle that we have to battle, but we get through it. But we have to just learn. We learn and grow as technology learns and grows. That's we have to. We have to stay on top of it as it comes out. We have to immediately learn about it, figure it out, and then continue forward.
And that technology changes daily.
Every day.
I mean, how do you stay up to date with all the different apps out there?
I don't know that you can. I mean,
until somebody brings it to your attention.
Until you learn about it and figure out about it, it's, you know, there's stuff out there we won't know.
And does the TBI, do they send out memos, you know, from time to time about different things that are happening right now in Tennessee?
We get different memos from different agencies along, you know, when something's kind of popping up or whatever. So just depending on what it is. So
if there's an app that's trending, if you would, where kids are talking and it's going down the wrong direction, I guess law enforcement, they let other law enforcement know
Absolutely.
about it.
Networking is one of the biggest ways that we can stay up to date.
Again, we're talking with school resource officers this morning. We have SROs Chad Dotson and Katie Cherry. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll try to get to some more questions. I know one of the questions that somebody asked, an increase in anxiety and depression and emotional struggles among local students, and then asking if that is tied to social media. So we'll get to that in just a second. You're listening to WGNS, SROs Dotson and Cherry.
The WGNS Action Line.
Hi, this is Dan with Music World and Drummer's Den. Our prices are as good or better than the box stores. I don't think you'll do better by shopping online than you would by coming in. Being able to hold a guitar, try it out. You can't do that online. I am absolutely sure we have more selection of instruments than anybody else in the area. New and used. We have used instruments as well as new ones. Music World and Drummer's Den, 2762 South Church Street, right across from the golf course. Thank you very much for being our customers.
Trade screens for sunshine. Registration is open for Rutherford County 4-H Junior Camp, June 8 through 12. Zipline, swimming, and outdoor fun for 4th through 6th graders. Sign up now at the Extension website or call 615-898-7710.
From lift kits to tires, Tire World has the experts and the knowledge to get it done.
This is Gator with Tire World Off-Road. We're your local rough country dealer. So when you're ready to add some character to your rig, ask for Gator at Tire World on Memorial Boulevard.
This is the WGNS Action Line. Rutherford County Newsmakers
since 1947.
The WGNS Action Line. Now, Scott Walker.
In studio with us this morning, we have school resource officers Katie Cherry and Chad Dodson. One of the questions that we had asked right before that break was about anxiety, depression, things along those lines in children today, and I guess asking how closely that is tied to social media today. I mean, I guess children, their emotions go up and down every day because they're kids who are growing, maturing, and then you have puberty, especially at that middle school age. But how closely do you think anxiety, depression, fear, all of those things are tied in with social media?
I think it's very connected. I think we adults deal with it.
we do.
I think it continues on into adulthood. So female and male aspect in this is really interesting. I think that the female side of this goes on beauty standards. I think that these girls get into all of these Instagram models that are not realistic. They get into all these beauty standards that are not realistic. And when they don't look like that and they fall into the aspect of the bullying and being told they don't look like that, it brings on the stress, the anxiety. How do I look like that? What do I have to do to look like that? I deal with this on the female side of things more than the male aspect, but I think that maybe because I'm female, so they're more comfortable coming to me as a female and saying like, hey, I'm having struggles with this. And then when we get into the bottom of it, it's like, oh, honey, this is not realistic. And so I think it's very tied to it.
We've even seen stories over the past 2 years where kids as young as 11 years old are getting like lip injections. You know, I mean, it's insane today, and it all does come from social media influencers who convince every age group to go forward with doing this, having this done, and so forth. It's just, it literally is insane.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to improve your looks. Sure, I'm all for that. But when it comes to children, there's a standard that we can't let them believe, because it feeds into their emotional mentality. It bleeds over into their physical mentality. And then you have, you get into these girls who are, their form of dieting is just not eating.
Yeah.
And so when you get into that aspect of it, it becomes a problem. And so, Chad, what are some of the male things that you see with this? I don't know that I see much with the emotional and mentality with it like I do the females.
I think, a lot of times you'll get, and I remember in middle school and stuff too, and it happens in elementary school, so-and-so said this about you, or so-and-so wants to fight you, or something like that. And the person never even said anything. So, I think you got just talking about people making fun of appearance and stuff like that. And I think even with males, that's probably, what Katie said too, to a point. And, making fun of them, or maybe they don't have the ability to play sports like somebody else. And it's some stuff just doesn't really have to be anything specific. It's just being mean or saying something hurtful. And, some things will bother some kids more than others, and some don't care at all. But once they see there's a reaction, they're going to continue that. But, it's sad, and especially when you get into young kids, elementary kids, trying to kill themselves or talking about killing themselves. I mean, our guidance counselors, they stay busy all the time dealing with, we got great guidance counselors at Las Casas, and they stay busy all the time. And a lot of times it's from somebody saying something mean, or somebody making fun of somebody, or something that's escalating to different levels.
When I was in school, and I hate to keep saying that, but suicide was not even in the thought process of the minds of the majority of kids. But today, we've had stories on it.
Yeah, it's unfortunately, like I said earlier, glorified in a lot of ways, and talked about and glorified. And you have some instances where I've read where kids build this relationship with AI, and they're talking to them, and then the AI tells them to kill themselves. And that's just where we've got to step in, and we got to talk to these kids, and that starts at home. You have to communicate. You have to talk to your kids about stuff, because pretending something don't exist, it's not going to help it.
And for any adult out there listening who doesn't understand how crazy AI and the world of AI can be, just even for example, pull up ChatGPT and start asking ChatGPT random weird questions and see what kind of responses you get, because it is bizarre. And if kids ask these strange questions, they're going to get that same bizarre response. It's a crazy world.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Communication is such a big thing between parents, children, or a trusted adult. Some kids are not comfortable going home and telling their parents certain things, and I tell them that's okay. But you need to find somebody who you trust.
Yeah.
And you need to find somebody that you confide in, and let that adult person know, who can then tell the right resource so we can get you out of this mindset. Because it is something that's real, and it's realistic to the child. And so we have to accommodate and find somebody that this child's willing to talk to help get them back into reality of, I'm actually okay.
I guess if you don't spend the time to help to correct the path or the road they're going down right now, they're going to just continue to go down that wrong road.
And I've seen kids, elementary kids, that can't distinguish reality from a video game. That's scary.
I get it. Games today, things online, they do seem so real. Something we mentioned earlier this morning, poverty. As we continue to grow as a county, that means everything grows, including the number of students whose families are going through hard times, going through poverty because of a lack of a job, or it could be any number of things. But Operation Full Plate, that's a food drive that happens June 2nd through the 4th. Tell us a little bit more about that, and tell us about the kids who are experiencing levels of poverty that maybe we may not understand or somebody listening may not understand.
Yeah, for the Junior Deputy Academy this year, I wanted to add a concept of learn, lead, and serve. So I wanted to add a food drive that will help Atlas kids, which are kids and families experiencing homelessness in some way.
So these are at-risk children who are students within the county schools?
Yes.
Yes.
And right now, last word I heard was about 1,300 kids and families. So I wanted to do something as far as the serving part to give back. We're asking kids that's coming to this to bring in food items and stuff, hygiene as well, hygiene items, and we're going to give some rewards, for kids that bring them in with the most numbers and stuff. But also, I've reached out to some churches, and we have some churches and businesses helping us as well. We'd love to have anybody listening, or a church or business, whoever would like to help us with that, to provide for these families through the summer and into the next school year.
Have you got a financial number that you're aiming at, or a goal that you're aiming for?
No, not really. We had one business donate to Atlas monetary amount, and then some churches are doing some pretty big food drives as well, but just want to do all we can for them, because as I'm working on this, I found out a lot of people are just not aware of it.
Yeah.
That this is out there. Just want to do what we can to help, because that's what we need to do, help and serve people.
Our local churches do a whole lot for these children. We're so thankful and grateful for those individuals that step up with these churches and bring food bags, hygiene bags for these kids that don't have it. We're always so thankful for them and love them very much for helping us and helping these kids that need it.
And then without programs like this, there's some kids that, they won't have snacks throughout the summer or lunch throughout the summer because both parents are at work, one parent's at work, and they're home by themselves.
Yeah, and a lot of times I have on that list what Atlas sent me, but stuff that can be fixed in a microwave, because a lot of times they're in hotel rooms.
Yeah.
So, they don't have that access to kitchens and stuff.
I know we're already out of time, but if somebody does want to get involved in that, if they want to make a donation, if they want to help out, how can they get involved in Operation Full Plate? My cell number is 615-396-7342, or they can email me at cdodson, D-O-D-S-O-N, at rcsotn.org, and I'll make the arrangements for the pickup. Easy enough to do. And again, they could also just call the sheriff's office and say, I heard about this on the radio. I'd like to get involved. Yeah, they can give my information to them. Again, with us this morning, SROs Chad Dotson and Katie Cherry. Thank you both for joining us today.
Thank you
for having us.
Local news comes your way next, and also a look at news around the country with Fox News.
I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
I know how to win.
Are you worried about Florida?
Some of them don't know how to win. I know how to win. I think I've proven that, haven't I?
President Trump, a short time ago, after posting on Truth Social, all 37 primary